The challenge of the North, honestly, is that, one, it has in its hand a philosophy given to it by Usman Dan Fodio. Usman Dan Fodio said the whole of Nigeria is to be Islamized. And nobody wants to face that fact. And the North sees itself as wanting to carry that out. Not only is it to be Islamized, it is also to be the land belonging to the Fulani person. In fact, when I was a kid, there was a musician who was singing, Babankasan Shehu Dan Fodio, Nigeria, Tapache Gaskia. The guy is saying Nigeria is the big land belonging to Usman Dan Fodio. So that philosophy is in the hand of the Fulani man, that as far as he's concerned, he has to consider conquest.
He's actually the landlord.
Yes, of the whole nation. And so that probably may have informed all those Ruga ideas to have 100,000 acres be given to Fulanis in each state. 100,000 acres, or is it 100,000 or 1 million acres to be given to Fulanis in each state to run Ruga is bigger than a local government. Bigger than a local government. So you have a philosophical problem you have not yet resolved. The North needs to come to the place where it faces the fact that, look, we are one nation. We cannot enforce, we cannot impose, and we cannot bring a different law from the one which we concede to, which is the, for the moment, 1999 Constitution. That needs to be at the back of the mind of every person from the North. Number two, and it is that philosophy that is actually driving what somebody is trying to deny. Is there genocide? What is genocide? Genocide is if you try to kill me on grounds of my race, on grounds of my tribe, or if you try to chase me out of my land. So chasing the southern Kaduna people out of their land and Fulanis occupy it, what is it in the light of that definition? Chasing the Benue man, the TV or the Doma out of his land, and the Jukun to occupy his land. What is that?
It sounds like a deliberate act to displace them, so it's genocidal in nature.
So, and when you do that in Benue, when you do that in Kaduna, when you do it in Taraba, when you do it in Adamawa, what is that? And guess what? The Fulani man is not doing it in the 13 or 14 hardcore states where he is predominant. He's not doing it. Only in the middle belt is he doing it more, and then down south. So those realities have to be faced. I think personally our government needs to strengthen its law. Not only should it strengthen its law, make people pay for the whatever they do. Then, honestly, I do not know how to take on these terror groups without external help. You want to know why I said that? Nigeria, you see, we went down south. We assume we know Nigeria. We don't. Do you know the size of just Niger State? No, do you know it?
I don't have the details here, but it's compared to it's massive.
Niger State alone is almost the size of all of the East plus a good number of South. Only Niger State. So how do you chase a terrorist group
around such a
unless you have the most sophisticated equipment, state-of-the-art satellite that captures body heat? And only America has that. To the point that Osama bin Laden was afraid to answer phone calls because they trace him to 20 minutes since he made that call. 20 minutes.
Who sold Nigeria? Nigeria has been sold to the Fulani, I told you. It is the misadministration of the Fulani veto that has led us to where we are today. I'll break it down. Every time power is unyoked to law, it is always bound to end up badly. The power that was granted, remember I told you, it wasn't granted to citizens. It was granted to totems and hegemony. The administration of that power, how it was administered, was always going to be critical to the way it would impact on the lives of the citizens. When the first coup happened, it happened because the victims of the hegemony rebelled against the use of its powers. When the second coup happened, it was because the beneficiaries of the veto needed to retake the veto. And in retaking the veto, there was a recognition for balance. And this is why, in spite of the fact that Muritala Muhammad was the protective head of that coup in July 1966, he ceded power to the highest ranking northern officer who was not a Fulani but a northern minority, Yakubu Gowon. I'm not going to say God rest his soul. I learned his time ended as well, as all of our time will end someday. Yakubu Gowon was the inheritor of that veto, and I will explain. If it was about military hierarchy, there were multiple persons ahead of him in the military. So even if you say that after Agui Irosi's death, the most senior person should take over, it was by no means Yakubu Gowon. The ascension of Yakubu Gowon, ignoring people like Ademulegun and Admiral Wade, and I believe about 2 or 3 other persons who are clearly ahead of him. I believe even Ojukwu was a senior. Was a clear declaration of the northern veto. Northern, because to legitimize it, you needed. It couldn't be called the Fulani veto because they required the illusion of one North to exercise that veto. So that veto was exercised in 1966 in July, and that was what brought Yakubu Gowon to power. This excursion in history is very, very important because diagnostics is just as important as treatment. If you fail to understand where you are coming from, it becomes difficult to navigate your way back to sanity. Yakubu Gowon took power and thus began the unilateral redesign of Nigeria and his sale. And when I speak to his redesign and sale, I'll remind you, as at the dawn of the first coup, Nigeria had 4 regions. By the time the military was handing Nigeria back in 1979, I believe by then, I think, was it not 19 states? And by the time the civilians ran it for 4 years, from 1979 to 1983, and beginning from 1984 up until when the military left again in 1999, it moved from those 19 to your current 36. A country was unilaterally designed under the imperative of an hegemony without consultation with those it calls citizens. Who sold Nigeria? Who? It is almost impossible to talk about the sale of a country, but you can speak to the sale hypothetically, or let me say, in a metaphoric fashion. So, the military restructured Nigeria, restructured it without consultation. Who sold it to them? You and me. By our silence. People did it for different reasons. The religious class sold Nigeria. The silence of supposed good men in the face of evil normalizes evil. If you are called by God's name, either as a pastor or as an imam, even a babalawo, or the head of an lady, and you see this evil and you have kept quiet, you sold Nigeria. Those of you who were busy talking about before David, there will be Saul, you sold Nigeria. Those of you who have been asking people to fast and pray for a better Nigeria, when you can see that it is human agents that are destroying Nigeria and not some demonic forces. The demonic forces are flesh and blood. You sold Nigeria. If you've been asking people to pray, to fast, instead of rebuking evil, you sold Nigeria. If you have, as the Munafikun, stood behind your pulpit in the mosque and excused evil like Gumi, you sold Nigeria. If you have excused evil like Pantami, you sold Nigeria. So when we speak about persons who sold Nigeria, if you once railed about good governance and your voice has become stilled in this season, you sold Nigeria. If you are a student in the university, because let me tell you, in 1960s, the early 1960s, up until 1962, Nigerian students, particularly of what became the University of Ibadan, University College back in those days, they were the ones who ensured that the British Nigerian Defense Pact could not be executed, could not find realization. They understood the threat it constituted to Nigeria's sovereignty. They understood the importance of a country's sovereignty. You, Nigerian students of today, what are you doing? In your universities, you are busy. You are very busy. My sound is not muted. You are beg, leave that story. Other people are hearing me. Check your own sound. You are busy in your universities. Nigeria bet Nigeria, bet this, bet that. You are popping one pill after the other. You're busy whoring and doing one thing after. The only thing you never think about is Nigeria. And then you are talking. You sold Nigeria. You think you are too young to care about the future of this country. When we were in the universities, we did this. You can abuse us all you care that we failed you, but what have you done? You are selling Nigeria with your detachment from it all. You're selling Nigeria. You're selling Nigeria.
See, anybody who comes to pretend that he wants to solve the problem of Nigeria and does not, in all honesty, address the Fulani leadership mentality or the Fulani entitlement mentality is not ready to fix the problem of Nigeria. I saw a cleric the other time who was angry about the choice of General Christopher as the new defense minister. He was visibly angry, but I wasn't really captured by his anger. I was captured by the statement he made. He said that Nigeria belongs to them. Nigeria was promised to them, and Nigeria was handed over to them by their father, Uthman Dan Fodio. He said it. He said it loud and clear. And I'm like, oh, so this thing when they talk, not true. Now, we must understand that the Fulanis are not even intending to grab a part of Nigeria. They want all of it. They want all of it. All the chaos we are currently witnessing is a deliberate and anxious, mischievous action towards getting the whole of Nigeria under the control of one tribe, the Fulanis. And until we come to terms that it is time we threw away our petty quarrels, Igbo versus Yoruba, North versus South, and identify the real problem that the Fulanis want to make themselves as a superior being in this country, then we are not prepared to solve this problem yet. For instance, a Fulani man gets to unalive somebody, he is sentenced 15 years, 20 years. An Igbo man commits a lesser offense, he's given life imprisonment. And the person reading the judge even say that they are even helping you. They are helping you because it will have been death sentence. I'm talking about the Nnamdi Kanu's case. Then there's the case of Sunday Jackson, somebody who fought to defend himself. And as at the time, the only way he can protect himself is by, unaliving the next person. Otherwise, he's given the death sentence. Which means, in this country, if you are not a Fulani man, and you are accosted by a Fulani man, it better just say, here am I, unalive me. You can see, I heard the other man in Kano, one video from Kano saying that out of the 45 local government in Kano state, only 10 is headed by Hausa people, but the rest 35 is headed by Fulanis. And in all the local government in Kano state, there is no local government that the Fulani has a higher population above the Hausas. Well, as for that, that's going to be a video for another day. But if you truly want, if you truly want to get the sympathy, then you must start aligning with people that are necessarily not of your religion. Because the Fulanis, for me, I may be wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong, use this religion to bring you together, Hausa Fulani, because the religion knits you together. But in truth, even in the mosque, you are not allowed to be head of the mosque. In your local government, you are not allowed to be head. In your state, you will never become governor. So what's the alliance all about? Brotherhood of superiority complex, or brotherhood of one senior, one junior? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. But you see, if we must solve the problem of this country, we must have a leader that will look the Fulanis in the eye and say, look, we are going to stop this mischief of Fulani, blackmailing the rest of Nigerians to accept their whims. It is either the way they want it or the highway. Well, we must be ready to take the highway with them.
Good day to our viewers all over the world, and welcome back to Local Journal. Honestly, for Nigeria to progress, for Nigeria to move or make a headway in this nation, in the world, we must address this Fulani issue. We must address the Fulani question. Because honestly, I don't really get what is happening in this country. The idea that Nigeria belongs to them never started today. It is something that had been handed over to them from the echelon of their genealogy down to the present Fulani leaders. And that is the reason why they have this belief, and they have this belief that they can do anything in Nigeria and they will go scot-free. And that is the reason why they are waging jihad. That is the reason why they are unaliving people, causing chaos in people's homeland, believing that they want to actualize what their founder, their great-grandfather, Uthman Dan Fodio, gave to them. The mantle, the mantra, and the instruction they gave to them is what they stand to actualize in this country. People who are supposed to challenge this refused to challenge this man that time, and that's the reason why we are facing a bigger problem now. Because this whole ideology is not something that can be defeated easily, because they are already preoccupied with this ideology, and this system cannot be destroyed from their lives, because anywhere they go to, they carry about this ideology, and all the thing they have in their thinking faculty is how to grab people's land and to dominate, and to ensure that those people living there are exterminated and the land given to them. And this is the duty they've been going on carrying about in this country, and that's the reason why we see that most communities in Nigeria are facing problems today. So the thing is this: we have a very big problem in Nigeria, and before Nigeria makes a headway, it must solve the Fulani problem. Because of course they feel they are bigger than anybody in this country, because they feel like they own this country already. They've conquered the Hausas, they've worked in so many ways and tried in so many ways to conquer other regions. They've tried to conquer the western region. It didn't work, even though they were able to get the some part of west, which is Ilorin. They were able to get Ilorin, and they tried invading the west, but it didn't work. And they are using gradual infiltration process to infiltrate the middle belt, just to conquer them, since it didn't work during that time. We are facing a very big threat. We are facing an existential threat that if it's not solved, this problem is going to linger, and it will be the end of this country, because we are taking it for granted and people are taking it with levity. But you don't know the magnitude of this whole problem, this whole Fulani problem. We don't know the magnitude. The British didn't do us for handing power over to them. They know what they were looking at, and they know the problems they are going to cause, and that was the reason why they had to hand over power to these people. Made them the custodian of our constitution, the custodian of our power house, and that's the reason why this whole problem is coming every day. And that's why it seems like any president that comes from the south acts most time like they don't have the political will to do what they are supposed to do. Look at what is happening. We can see how these people are sponsoring banditry, sponsoring insecurity with reckless abandon, feeling that nobody is going to question them, and that they are bigger than Nigeria. And if this thing were done by somebody from the south or the east, the person would have been arrested. People from this zone, even if it's just normal talk, subtle talk, they arrest them. Well, these guys have been eliminating people, have been massacring people, have been committing genocide against people in their homeland, indigenous Nigerians in their homeland. Nothing has been done. Nigeria needs to wake up, because if you don't speak up against this evil that is going on, then you are part of the problem. And if you say it doesn't concern me and I will not talk about it because it has not happened to you, a time that shall come when you will all start regretting that you would have spoken. And I pray that we don't get to that time. So it's high time everybody speaks about it and mount pressure on the government, mount pressure on the major stakeholders we have to do something about this country. If it's a case of dividing this country or going back to whichever system that will bring peace, that will confine these people to their region so that everybody will stay in their own region, I think that's going to be the best thing in the interest of every Nigerian. That's my opinion on this. Kindly drop what you think about this in the comment section. And if today is your first time to visit our channel, please kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel.